Hello and welcome to Karborundum Quest. What we're doing at the moment is sending up a little satellite, 3 satellites to be exact, one to the moon, Minmus, and one around Kerbin to gather enough science to get us a space station. Now I've cut most of this out because it's the same old stuff you see everywhere. Send out probes, separate them off, gather all the science, and then we launch the station. And here is our station. Now, I'm a bit lazy to do multiple launches for certain things, so more boosters. So we actually have a few stages here, basically all solid rocket motors with the exception of the very last bit, which is just some liquid fuel motors that will get us into a stable orbit. You can see us starting up the liquid fuel to try and get us there, but it isn't enough power. You can see we still have some boosters around the edge, but this is the easiest way to get a large section of station into orbit at the one time. Once we come up to the AP, get to our highest point, and then punch the boosters and try and gain as much speed as quickly as possible. So this is the first section of our station. And what we have here is basic life support, some solar panels, recycler module, and a small science lab from the mole mod. This is a heavily modded playthrough, so there's all sorts of stuff in here. And as I'm trying to do with a lot of things, I'm trying to recycle as much as possible. I have the reusability expansion and I have the recovery mod, so things that have parachutes on it get recovered for a percentage. That's why I put parachutes on absolutely everything. But as a bit of fun, I just thought for this one I would try and recover this on my own. And I made a beautiful mistake when I started entering the atmosphere and forgot that I needed to be able to control it, and that you can't control it going through the atmosphere because of the effects of the atmosphere, or the upper part of the re-entry at least. So this got interesting for a little while. Here we are, back on the ground, or coming towards the ground. Lots of shoots to compensate. This will get us a fair bit of money back from what we have there. And we got it fairly close to the space centre, so not too bad a job. Now, next, since we've got this space station up here, we need to send up some crew. So I'm sending up a crew mission here. There was 3 identical crew missions that went up, just to complete contracts to get more money. Most of them went a bit better than that, but explosions are usually part of the way that I play. So one of the problems that we did have with this mod is the docking clamps that come with the mole mod. There is a magnet on them that, similar to the construction mod, it allows you to pick a rotation, but I can't quite seem to get it to work. And because at this point I had no RCS unlocked in the tech tree, it was very difficult to get things to sort of line up. And when you could get them close enough, is I've put this recording in deliberately so that you can see, what happens is when you do get it close enough, it starts to spin to try and correct itself, and it can throw all sorts of things all over the place. I had the station thrown away at one point, and I had to reload this a couple of times. That's why I don't have all the footage, because at one point the effect of the docking clamp rejecting the station was so severe that it actually tossed the station back into the atmosphere from 80 odd thousand kilometers. So 80 odd thousand meters, that would be 80 kilometers. But yeah, then just having a look at things, loading up some science experiments, getting everything ready to go, and then moving the run experiments out and bringing them back to the atmosphere. Science is everything, and when you're playing with a life support mod, the amount of grind at the early end of your contract, or the early end of your campaign, is a lot. Now, I do have a heat shield on these when I'm re-entering, but if I can bring it back With the thrusters, I will. As you can see there, it was a bit of a waste of time. Here we go, launching another set of craft, just so that I've got some escape craft for the people in the station. Nice and simple. We're unlocking a few things there, so I have some wings from the OPT mod just to keep the rocket straight. It wasn't the most stable because of its weight. If you can go fast enough with fins on the back end, then you can usually stabilise it out. So same again here. Interesting docking problems with this mod. Still don't have RCS unlocked, but it's manageable. I say manageable. It takes hours. If you get it wrong, slightly wrong, you're way off. And I do really regret using these little things, these little docking nodules, as opposed to the clampetrons from the standard game. But the reason that I used them is because they have integrated parachutes, so it means you can put less. Although you can see there that I still have extra parachutes, but it means that you can put less on your vehicle, and they do help an awful lot. But I thought I'd leave this all in just because it shows you how interesting it is when you don't have the RCS. It's still possible to dock, it just takes a little bit more time and patience, and I am not the most graceful of pilots. I'm very heavy handed in most things that I do, so this was quite a nightmare to get these docked, but we do get there in the end. Although I don't show the second one being docked just because it took so long. And it's the same thing over again. Now here is the next section of the station that we're putting up. It's still the same station where I'm using the USI construction part of the MKS package. Construction boats that you get they look exactly the same as the clampetrons, but they have a variable magnet, they have rotation control, and once you get them all clipped together, you can assemble in space, so everything clamps together perfectly. Very good. I wish they'd allow a rotation once they were locked together though, but aside from that, I use them for a lot of things. Especially early on in the game before you have any way of building things. I use a couple of different building mods, so this is a good way of sort of doing it so that you have what you need. So you can take it up as opposed to trying to do massive launches with a ridiculous amount of rockets. You can put it up stage at a time, although still I'm using fairly large stages. But this also means that it stays a lot more solid than the old way you'd have to dock everything together. You still get a bit of wobble in Kerbal Space, although they've optimised it beautifully. You still do get a bit of wobble, so it is nice to lessen the cracking attacks as much as possible. So by now, as you've just seen on this, we have RCS. So this section of the station going in actually has the first RCS. And to make it easier to control, I'm using the SAS mod from MechJib, as they call it, the smartass. And yet again, bringing our little reusable launcher back in, although this time, as you can see, it went horribly wrong. I lost my engines and it flipped around. And luckily I managed to slow it down enough to recover most of it. But yeah, so that's the first section of the station building. I don't have all of my station building, but stay tuned for what I do have.